Perez surprises Red Bull. Sergio Perez's statement about his future in F1 sent shockwaves across the F1 world, as this is the first time we see him talking about it. It does really look like the pressure from being next to a generational talent like Max Verstappen is taking a toll on the Mexican, who now expressed doubts in himself while at the start of the decision he talked about being a world champion. What will this mean for the team, and more important for Perez himself? Sergio Perez has openly contemplated his future with Red Bull, shedding light on the challenges he faces as Max Verstappen's teammate. Comments made to DASN Spain suggest that 2024 might be his final season with the team, and while he is open to discussions about 2025 and beyond, he acknowledges that if he can't add value, he would understand not having his contract renewed. Being overshadowed by an extraordinarily talented teammate is tough, as seen with Valtteri Bottas and Lewis Hamilton at Mercedes. This suggests Perez senses his time at Red Bull may be winding down, which could have significant repercussions for him, the team, and F1. And although Perez plans to remain with Red Bull in 2024, many suspected it could be his last season, especially after realizing the extent of his challenge against Verstappen. There's a widespread belief that Red Bull's car is designed specifically for Verstappen, making it fast yet challenging to handle, and Verstappen and team boss Christian Horner argue the team simply aims for the quickest car, with Verstappen's immense skill is what is making it effective. However, the car is to some extent constructed with Verstappen in mind, especially since he can manage the car's behaviors in ways Perez can't, and this explains why Perez has expressed difficulty with the car for the second consecutive year. The answer is that it's evolving away from his liking. For Perez to rival or even outpace Verstappen, specific conditions are necessary, like those in Saudi Arabia and Azerbaijan earlier this season. However, Verstappen consistently improves and overcomes his limitations, and a turning point came during the race in Baku, where Verstappen started tweaking cockpit settings to adapt to new tires, and these adjustments significantly enhanced his performance, further widening the gap between him and Perez. Verstappen's key changes involve brake bias, the differential and engine braking torque maps. Collaborating with his engineer Giampiero Lambiasi during the Baku race, they adjusted torque maps and Verstappen's braking method, and a specific change referenced as Display 5 Position 9 seemed to be a breakthrough moment for Verstappen with the RB19 car. Even though Perez won that race, Verstappen's modifications neutralized any potential advantage Perez might have had, and given this and the focus on Verstappen within the team, it's understandable why Perez is considering his next steps. While it might seem imprudent for Perez to step away from a top-tier team and car, the most competitive choice isn't always the right one for everyone. Perez has had a commendable F1 career, often overshadowed by others labeling him as just a paid driver. However, F1 isn't his whole life. Before his significant disadvantage to Verstappen earlier this year, Perez acknowledged that he wouldn't endure the challenges if he didn't see a title win in his future, and the constant emotional and personal toll of being repeatedly defeated is taxing, and the possibility of winning the championship looks very grim, and it appears Perez recognizes this. He deeply values his family, and once considered leaving F1 to be with them, especially after Racing Point unexpectedly replaced him with Sebastian Vettel for 2021. Red Bull offered him a lifeline, but with that chapter closing, will he consider prioritizing family? Perez's desires are clear. He wants to either win races or be part of a compelling F1 project, and with F1 in a good state, many teams such as Red Bull, Ferrari, Mercedes and Aston Martin seem appealing. He might also consider McLaren, the upcoming Audi Works team, or Alpine, and less attractive options include Haas, Williams and AlphaTauri. Yet determining which teams would court Perez is challenging, as top teams like Red Bull, Ferrari and Mercedes seem to be eyeing other options. McLaren and Alpine might see him as a valuable addition, but there are contingencies. The potential of joining the team transforming into Audi seems more plausible, despite uncertainties surrounding Audi's F1 engine debut and Sauber's prospects by 2025 or 2026. For the rest, there are questions about how they perceive Perez, especially after his stint with a competitive teammate like Verstappen. Yet many would likely appreciate Perez's expertise, because balancing Perez's desires with potential offers shows limited options. Ultimately, it may hinge on how much he's willing to compromise, and considering his sentiments, a dignified retirement as a celebrated Grand Prix winner, and more importantly in my opinion, a national icon after 2024, seems likely. If Perez's contract with Red Bull isn't renewed or he decides to leave, it's highly likely that Red Bull will be searching for a replacement, and the discussions surrounding a potential substitute for Perez in 2025 seem to echo the previous year's speculations for his 2024 seat. Within the Red Bull circle, Daniel Ricciardo emerges as an evident option. However, his bid to be a strong partner for Verstappen at Red Bull has been compromised due to an ongoing hand injury and several missed races. Red Bull's leading junior choices are Yuki Tsunoda and Liam Lawson, but Tsunoda, largely mentored by Honda, might move to Aston Martin by 2026 when they adopt Honda, leaving Red Bull to rival its present collaborator. Lawson's prospects at Red Bull Racing are still uncertain, as he's yet to secure a consistent position at AlphaTauri. Red Bull's previous engagement with Perez demonstrated their willingness to hire outside their immediate driver pool, and the question is, could they do it again? Lando Norris stands out as a compelling candidate. Although his contract with McLaren extends to the end of 2025, connections to Red Bull have been recurrent, and Norris, known for his exceptional speed and adaptability, could be a strategic fit. Having Norris alongside Verstappen might be a challenge for Red Bull, as they wouldn't want to disrupt the team's harmony. However, it's an enticing proposition, especially considering Verstappen's visible frustrations with F1's extended calendar and continuous format tweaks. Norris has hinted at the possibility of collaborating with Verstappen, his sim racing peer, even jesting about Verstappen joining him at McLaren. Verstappen himself seems open to almost any partnership, barring perhaps Lewis Hamilton. Both key Red Bull figures, Helmut Marko and Christian Horner, hold Norris in high regard and have previously tried to bring him on board, but their actions were stopped by Norris's commitments to McLaren. In essence, Norris is in high demand within Red Bull circles, and at this point, he might be their prime pick whether Perez stays or leaves. However, the challenge lies in navigating Norris's binding agreement with McLaren, which they claim to be rock solid. Another question is, how much of the potential decision to leave RB is down to Perez himself? Because after all, the team has 3 possible candidates for the second race seat besides Perez, 2 of them a lot younger than him. Being number 2 to a driver of Max's caliber is always going to demoralize you, because you can do everything 100% right and still finish a long way behind P1. That's just the way that it is, and it has happened to a few others before. On the other hand, racing in a Red Bull that is the class of the field will present you with great opportunities that you wouldn't get in another team at the moment. A great car can mask some of your weaknesses as a driver, and who wouldn't gladly take that? Let's be honest, Checo Perez isn't one of the greatest drivers of all time, not even inside the current top 5, possibly even at the lower end of the top 10, and is unlikely to ever win the championship. Is the thrill of Formula 1 compelling enough to deter Perez from seeking a better personal-professional balance? We gotta admit, his ambition is unmistakable. He wants to win and wants to be a part of an engaging project, but such prospects might be elusive. As his stint with Red Bull ends, he might choose to leave F1 or join a lesser-known team. His future in the sport depends on the compromises he's willing to make. Should he exit due to scarce opportunities, it's imperative not to judge him, and to me, it seems Perez is reconciling with the likelihood that a world title is unachievable to him. Accepting such a reality is challenging, especially at Red Bull's competitive tier. It's a bit sad witnessing the twilight of a career that once held high championship hopes. Perez's journey in F1 is admirable and something we could only dream of, because rarely who will get to drive a car like the Red Bull is these years. Still, I'd be thrilled to see him transition to IndyCar, as he'd undoubtedly be embraced there, but only time will reveal his next move. Let us know your thoughts. Do you think Perez should leave Red Bull after the 2024 season? Thank you for watching Racing Zone, and we will see you in the next video.